The music is fading out. Hello, everyone. I wanted to ask if you can hear me, but you can, because I can hear myself. That's good. How are you doing? Is everyone good? Did you have a good day so far? No headaches yet? Just because of the talking, I mean. Okay, the vibe is good. Welcome to this session, this live podcast here at the Startup Days. What does live podcast mean? It means that we will have a conversation and it's recorded and we will launch it as a podcast afterwards on our Swisspreneur platform. And if you have a question later on and you speak into the microphone, that will also be recorded. But no names or anything will be named, just so you are aware that if you will ask a question later into the microphone, it may also appear on the podcast. If we get to questions, let's see how much we will talk. So my name is Merle. I'm here in the name of Swisspreneur, and I'm happy to welcome you and to see so many faces. And I'm joined by Levent, who is the co-founder of
Properti.
Properti, correct.
Thanks.
Job done.
Directly, yeah.
So some of you may know this, some don't, but we already had a podcast with Levent, but that was 3 years ago. So now, today we want to talk about what happened in these 3 years and how his startup, Properti, went from a startup to a scale-up. And what happened in this moment of growth, what were challenges, what we're learning, so that all of you can also hear that story. Come in, have a seat. Who in this room knows Properti? Can you raise your hand if you know Properti? A few. But that's perfect, because the first question is, maybe, Levent, you can just give us a brief description of what Properti actually is, what you guys do over there.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to be back in Bern, actually. So I grew up in Bern, went to Zurich, and now back here is quite a home game you just mentioned, right? So what's Properti doing? Yeah, Properti is actually simplifying real estate. So we are an end-to-end platform which is focusing on residential real estate and really automatizing the whole selling and renting process end-to-end on a platform. And that's actually what we're doing. Founded 5 years ago, meanwhile, over 200 employees. I think we're the leading tech agent in Switzerland, and yeah, still here to grow and rock the market.
Very good. Sounds very promising. So, I don't know, in a few words, what happened the last 3 years?
It was a roller coaster, to be honest. I just posted last week a LinkedIn post. I think there are much up and downs, and I remember when I had the podcast with Silvan, like I was really motivated to disrupt real estate and stuff. 3 years later, I think I could be a bit tired, but I'm not actually. I think it was an intense journey. It really shifted from this founder-led organization of hustling mode to a scalable way of how to build a company, thinking in engines, in flywheels, but we will talk a little bit about that. But I think the most important thing is just, keep pushing and believe in yourself. I think, especially as a founder, CEO, it's sometimes there are hard times, and I'm still here. So I think that's the most important thing, yeah.
And just to put it in perspective, you said 300?
200 employees, yeah.
Almost 300 soon,
Exactly.
of course. 200, how many were you about? I don't know, when we had the last episode, how many were you there?
It's more or less approx 60, something like 50 to 60, so it's not too much growth, but still, I think it's growth in the foundation of the company, which is crucial, actually.
Yeah, and that's what we want to talk about as well. So at what point would you say that Properti went from a startup to a scale-up? And was it like a specific moment, or was it like a few months later you were like, oh, whoops, I think we're a scale-up now? Or how did this happen in your mind?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I think we just had a monthly meeting this month. 2 months ago, we spoke about that, and we always talk about when a startup is 5 years old, it's a scale-up, right? I don't really believe in that, to be honest. I think the moment when you just start to realize that the engine works. So I think we had every month's growth, every quarter to quarter, year on year. And then we start to realize, okay, hey, we're not a startup anymore. I think we have this proof of concept. The machine is working a certain way. And now we need different processes. So it's the pressure from outside, from clients, from employees, which comes, and you just have to react on that. And I always say I want to be 1% better every day, right? And that's not only for me as a CEO or founder, but also actually for the team, for the company. And I think it's really about having a clear focus, which we also had to learn, combined with trying to improve this flywheel all the time.
And were you always sure that you wanted to scale in that amount? Because you said at some point you knew the engine was running, you had constant growth, but was it always like, yeah, we want to keep it like that? Or maybe like, oh, maybe we should, it's a good point, let's stay like this? What was it like?
I think the challenge is when you have a certain team, right? And we have like this team, which is a couple of years already there. And you have a discussion as a CEO where you have permanently to push, right? I think the people are pushing themselves, but there's coming a momentum where you're speaking about, hey guys, what's our plan? Like, do we want to just stay a KMU, let's say, in Swiss German, right? Or do we want to grow, right? And I think that was a very important point in the company when I just asked the management, guys, so I'm here, I'm all in. Are you also? I think it's really about communication, that your management, your teammates understand, hey, now we want to go all in, right? And it's not about all in of, hey, we want to be the biggest or whatever. I think in our company, it's about improving ourselves. It's about believing in a vision, believing to disrupt the real estate market and creating something together, right? And I think that is our driver and not, let's say, an exit in 2-3 years or I don't know what. So it's really about building something, having a great team on board, which you see like 5 years ago, they had a huge development, right? And I think that was my personal motivation. It's not only about just only disrupting, it's about developing the people, empowering them, and that's how we grow so fast, actually.
And how do you make sure through that growth, because I mean, sometimes growth also means growing with all costs, basically. And you mentioned also the pressure from the customers, and you have to have a certain quality still while growing. How did you make sure that you kept that sustainable also?
Yeah, I think quality is a foundation, right? If you want to grow and you don't have quality, you shouldn't grow at all. So you're doing something completely wrong, right? And I think there is a pressure of growth every year, 30-50%. Like last quarter, we had this 26% growth still, right? And we are doing double-digit revenues. And the biggest failure which I did was really the aspect of, I was thinking about growth all costs. Like we entered property management, we entered commercial real estate. And then it was the pressure also from my investors, which are saying, hey guys, on what are you focusing, right? And I think that was for me the biggest learning, because I belong to a bit of a pushy CEO, let's say. Like I really like to innovate and like to grow and develop. And then I had to question myself. I was like, hey, let's be the best in residential, like do the best possible flywheel, optimize all the processes, right? And we try to be the best there, right? And I think that was this idea of growing for all costs is about sometimes founders just think, hey, you have to be in this business field, this business field, this business field, but just focus on one and try to be the best, right? And that was my biggest learning, which I had together with the team, that we said, hey, we have to focus more, doing less, but doing properly, and building up a clear engine, right?
How is the structure at the moment? So how many are in the management?
In the C-level, we are 6 at the moment, or 5, sorry. Middle management, we are also approx 5. I just had yesterday a management meeting. I just restructured the whole organization. So we are working on future with mission teams. So our company has 3 mission teams, which the whole company is working on, like marketing, tech, product, HR, finance. So all are working these mission teams to empower them. And they all have clear KPIs, right? And it's about creating impact, right? And these KPIs, they belong to our strategy, 2030 strategy. So our strategy is 2030 to have 5% market share in Switzerland. And we track all of that. And it's really a different way of leading people. And I really believe in empowerment. I believe in data. I believe empowerment should be over creating value. So what kind of value you're creating for the company and what kind of value you're creating for the KPIs. And I think that's all about, right?
And when did you start that process of restructuring the company?
Yeah, that's permanent restructuring, to be honest. Yeah. And I think that's also a big problem. No, but this is really like, this year is our goal of focus. And I talked with several founders, CEOs, how they lead their company. And that's something which we discussed in management. And I think the bigger restructuring was 2 years ago, more or less. So like the startup scale-up phase. And now I just like said, hey guys, one target, 3 mission teams, 1 mission team lead, which is not like doesn't has to be a C-level or head of, can be also like a mission, someone which leads the topic, and all are working together.
That's an interesting approach. I also hear it more and more that people focus on this mission driven because it also is a different kind of purpose for the people leading those and working in those.
I think that's very crucial, and it's always, if you grow fast, 80% of the people won't be able to grow with you. And that's something also which I had to learn as a founder. It's an emotional thing. Like we started with 5 employees, or 6 actually. Out of the 6 employees, 5 still here. 1 left and came back. But you have just to be brutally honest on this topic. It's not about making friends or family. We are a sports team. We are a high performance team. So the expectation is the highest to myself, to all teammates, and we have just to create value. And I'm always telling to my team, if I'm the wrong CEO, I have to leave the CEO. I have to leave as a CEO, and that's the game. It's not about me. It's about the company. It's about creating value for clients, but also for our employees. Right?
In hindsight, what would you say were the main challenges in growing your company?
One challenge is culture, because like you have a certain base of people which leave your culture, and then like we started to hire people quite fast, and I was like walking through the office, I was thinking, who is that? And I started to realize that's a big problem, because I'm a role model concerning culture, and if I don't know them, I'm doing something wrong, right? And I think if you start to grow, you have to multiply your culture, and you have to really also improve the culture. Let's say, it's like culture is not just a post or something. It's really about how to live, what kind of actions you do, how do you hire, what's your onboarding process, how are your performance meetings, right? And I think like one of our mission teams is culture, because I really believe people follow people. That's one of the most important things, right?
And do you feel like the company's culture changed? Because I'm sure it changed from the beginning to where it is now. Was that always a positive thing for you? Or was it also hard for you because you started that company with your culture, right?
Yeah, I think that's also big progress. Like as a founder, you just have to let go. Otherwise, you won't gain a great C-level, right? And like it changed in a certain way. We were in the beginning a really hostile startup, early stage, pushing all the time, to a stage with more sustainability. Like me personally, at the peak, I was over 124 kilograms. So I was just working, and start to realize, hey, if I don't grow myself, how should the company grow, right? And it's really a value-based, performance-based sports team, certain culture with the same values still.
What do you have the values like clear?
Yeah, with clear values.
Can you cite them to us?
Yeah, of course. Like fail forward is one of us. Like I think that's very important in your company. If you don't make failures, you can't grow. So I really say to my team, hey guys, just make failures, reflect, analyze, and do it better. Because I think that's something also in Switzerland, like people avoid to make failures, right? But just fail. I think that's something nice. You can learn out of it, right? Second value is we're one. So it's always about respect. It's about creating value for the company. It's about accepting each other, right, how we are, and also understanding that every teammate has his strengths, right? And it's our job to play their strengths, right? And I think you can't have the same expectation from every teammate, right? Another value is client is key. So really believe in disrupting a market, in simplifying real estate. I think, who of you are property owners? The ones which are not property owners yet, I think 90% of the people don't know how to buy a property. And I think that's a very complex thing. It's very emotionally, because if you buy a property, it's a one-time investment per life, right? And it's really about simplifying that, and that's why client is key. So we are tracking all NPS, every lead, every visit, when the agents do visits. We have a fully trackable journey and very numbers-based. We even do sometimes shadowing or like mystery shopping, because we want to be better what we're doing, right? Yeah.
Do you have some maybe like hands-on tips or processes that you have to keep these values in check, so to say, or keep them alive?
Yes, of course. Like one thing is we have a monthly meeting. There we have like over 6 values. We always take 1 value per month, and we take the people in. So let's say when the values fail forward, people have to speak about that topic, bring examples, right? So really explain the why is very important. Storytelling is very important. We have, like I have all 6 months with every department. I have a start, stop, keep doing workshop with me, with the strategy team and the HR, where the department just can write down with what they want to start, with what they want to stop, and with what they want to keep going. So that's also very based on our values. I have quarterly employee surveys, which are very important for me and the company. I'm just going regularly to lunch with our teammates. I'm just picking the high performer, or which someone is a low performer. I just try to understand, hey, what's the reason, what's going on? We are doing a lot of events, and also performance-based. So all our quarterly meetings are based on the OKRs and on the values and culture.
Do you use any like softwares?
Yeah, we use Flare. It's called Flare.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
And I think if you like, it's not about we just implementing survey and that's it. And I think the biggest challenge will come then after you did the survey and now how to tackle the problems, right? And it's quite funny. We just did last week or 2 weeks ago a survey for our sales agents. So. That's a big mess. I heard some of the agents, they were saying, hey, we are earning too less. The other one, they wanted to have more flexibility. And then we were speaking about that in our mission team called Agent Success, right? And then we said, okay, let's do a survey. And then we did a survey, and the result was so different. So the answers were all different. And we're like, okay, we just produced a mess because we just told to our agents, hey, just tell us what we should improve. I think that's also a big challenge because we are all human, and that sometimes you want to improve something, but you're producing messes, which is also good because you can learn. But yeah, I think it's crucial. Culture is crucial, in my opinion.
How do you prioritize what you tackle next?
Yeah, that's so. I think 1 year ago I was really always. Running after the fire, or 1.5 years ago, and now I'm really working on the company and not in the company anymore. And I really try to, like, I have a strict weekly planning. I said this last time also to Silvan, I believe. So if Monday is my management meeting day, clear KPIs. Tuesday, one-to-one. Wednesday, projects. Thursday, Friday, only strategy. So that's how I work, actually. And then based on that,
And when you look back to these 2-3 years where you said it was like an up and down, and the growing was like, probably like a daily struggle kind of. Is there anything that you would have done differently?
Yeah, of course. Hire the right people. Understand that people which build up the company to 50 employees don't have the same backpack for going from 200 to 500 employees, let's say. So having a more senior, experienced leadership team. And also that's a challenge because people which work in a, let's say, company which produce 200 million revenue, it's hard in a scale up. And I think that's also about culture again, right? The second thing is there is a no fit, and there we are quite strong. Just end it. Like probation period is here for the teammates, but also for the company. 3 months, if it's not fit, out. It sounds harsh, but it's so crucial. And I think there we did too much expectations. And then empowerment more. Like not expecting that everyone in the company without empowerment can grow. I think that's also a very important thing. So it's our responsibility to empower the people, to have enough leadership teaching, and to give them the tools to scale, right? And yeah, sometimes it's an illusion that you think, hey, if you're not in the office, and I was quite a lot around the past year, and I started to realize when I'm not in the office, like, I have to be this role model, and the whole management has to be. I think that's also important.
How do you balance, because you said first it's important to hire the right people and also senior people, but also you want to develop the ones to go there. I mean, it's also a bit tricky to balance, right? Because at some points you want to develop your employees, but maybe at some point you notice they will not reach that point. How do you deal with that?
Communication. I really believe in clear, direct communication, being brutally honest. We're not here to make friends, right? And it's my job to empower people. But like, for me, it was always the point when a teammate tells me, hey, I want to make career, I want to grow, that I'm taking that very serious. And I think it's our responsibility then in certain cases to have a clear game plan, we call it game plan in our company, and really clear development plan to bring this teammate there, right? And giving him the right environment. And that's why one of our values is fail forward, because without failing, you won't be able to grow.
Can you give us an example of what this career plan looks like in your company?
Yeah, of course. Like we do on a quarterly basis. We always take one thing, which this teammate has to be better, and we do trainings based on that. So it's really focusing. Let's say one teammate is bad in communication presentation, right? So we had one case, and then we just said, hey, okay, the monthly meeting, 200 employees, you have to present. Go for it, right? Or we had a trainer for speaking, as example, which came in and which trained the people. I think it's really also like for agents, as example, for academy. So we're investing more than 400,000 in training, learning, development. So we have a training, learning, development team of 3 employees, of 7 excellent coaches, especially for real estate agents. And that's, for me, a crystal clear investment, because how can I expect that an agent is better when I'm not open to invest as a company?
And at what point did you realize that this is a team, the learning and development team, for example, that you should implement? Because it probably wasn't there from the beginning, right?
Yeah, I have to say this we did quite early. That was one of the first investments after 2 years.
Okay.
Because I really believe in empowerment.
Yeah. And that's also how all these processes came into place?
Yes, it's like we have HR team that's separated by TLD. They're 2 different teams. So HR is mostly focusing on onboarding, offboarding, retention, performance, and training, learning, development is more about taking the performance and try to adapt there, right?
That's interesting. Cool. And you've raised, I think, a total of 12?
Yeah, more or less,
Yeah, million in 3 seed rounds and a Series A.
Yeah.
So 4 rounds later, what have you learned?
Yeah, I think one important thing is really, like, most of the founders or startup guys believe if I have money, I solved everything. Then the problem starts, actually. No, I think it's very important. It's about the question how to deploy the money, and in which processes you deploy, how you do deploy. And I was always very revenue driven, and I think that's also something which our investors value. So I'm not this kind of founder which shows I did much mistakes, but I really try to deploy the money right, and I think that's one of the most important questions. And secondly, I believe when I look back to my investors, especially also like Post Finance or Migro or even Serpentine Ventures, and I had to understand that, their challenges or their goal is to make an international company out of us. So their questions, they're fucking tricky. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, what the fuck? What kind of question is that? And I had to realize and understand, hey, their job is to get international company of us, they have perhaps per day, per year, they do 5-6 investments, right? And the challenge, I believe, is they're doing 5 investments per year. So one of them has to be the right one, right? And I think that's something which I had to learn, and they pushed me really on the topic of focusing, how to focus certain things, and how to build a company which, is able to be not only a Swiss-based company, to be an international company. I think that's what was my biggest learning. Yeah.
And talking about international, I think something that's interesting is you don't have any foreign investors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Only, which is not very common, especially for that size. So in your case, you would say it's not absolutely necessary to get capital from outside of Switzerland. But what is your, I would say this is not a very common case. What is your experience and also maybe your insights into that?
Yeah, I think when you have a great product, if you drive revenue, if you solve a certain problem, and you can prove that you're doing something good for clients, let's say, I think that's one thing. And the other thing is the vision, right? But for us, we said clearly we want to have a cash cow in Switzerland. So our goal is to be number 1 in Switzerland until 2030, 5% market share. We're at the moment more or less number 3. And I think that was also important with the focus to learn, hey, when is the right moment to go internationally? And it's also about saying no to international investors, as example, because if you have an international investor on board, he will push to go international, right? And much founders really, they don't understand what does this mean, this pressure which you have, right? And that's why for us it was important, hey, Switzerland, number 1, pushing, and they go internationally. And of course, like we would like to have international investors, because I think playing in Switzerland and playing internationally, that's a different championship, right? And now after 5 years, we have to ask ourselves, do we want to be a Carmu, just the number 1 in real estate, or do we want to go internationally, right, and go big? And like when I look to my C-level, like there are no people which want to be number 1 in Switzerland, right? They have a great backpack, they want to grow, and I think it's my job to give them the right platform for that.
So that's the plan, to go
Perhaps, yeah. I don't stick to timelines and stuff, but yeah, of course. I think now it's past 2 years were very challenging, right?
Yeah.
And but on the other side, it's for us important to prove, having a proof of concept, having a cash cow, and then make the next step.
Having a cash cow.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
You now also again mentioned the team, and then there are people that want to go internationally, and they bring this backpack of skills, and you have the mission leads, and then you have the C-level management team. How do you ensure still that while the company is still growing, that you align with all these different teams?
Yeah, like we have these mission teams and mission team leads, right? And on the back of the traditional organization, which I'm not really believing into it, to be honest, because I don't care if it's the CEO or whatever. Like after the day, we have the same target. We have like clear KPI meetings all 2 weeks. We have every Wednesday after lunch, like this mission team meetings, right? And we always work on a quarterly base, and these targets have to align to the strategy overall. Okay. So we really shifted a bit from being agile all the time to, okay, what's the target 2030, and how we go there, and try to work backwards.
Okay, interesting.
But still being agile, that's why we do it on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. And when you like zoom out a little bit and look at your company, and coming back also to this, maybe you'll go internationally, who knows? What do you think are the biggest challenges that startups are facing when they're scaling within their own country and then versus going out?
Lack of focus, I think, is one challenge that like it's always okay. On one side you want to go internationally, on the other side not. Before going internationally, be clear that Switzerland works, because otherwise you go into the next market and your main market is struggling, and then you have a bigger problem, because you have costs in, let's say, in Germany, and Switzerland you have also costs, and then you have a problem, right? The second point, I think, overall, to all founders, like, think big. Like, I think that's very important to just do it and just try it also, right? But still, it has to be the right moment. And,
And I mean, today we're at the Startup Day, so this is one of the, I would say, like ecosystem events where you can also network and grow the network around you. Have you used in that journey, have you made use of these networks and also, I don't know, programs or kinds of mentorships?
Yeah, like I was a couple of startups events. I'm not really the networking guy, to be honest. I really like to go home and work or into the office. I think it's one side it's important to, of course, meet investors, having speeches and learn out of them. Like in Switzerland, we have great podcasts, as Swisspreneur as example. I see. So cheers to that. Great conferences. I just was last year on the Venture Leaders. So there was from Venture Leaders. We were like a great group of fintech companies. I think you have to use it. But if you go to a conference as example, think about what's your target. Because these 8-9 hours go like that. And perhaps you are already the whole day here. I just came from the office. But I think it's important to go there and have a clear plan and we try to understand what you want to reach, right?
Is there anything that you would like to see that's not existent yet or not enough?
I think the whole topic of growth. So generally, I believe Switzerland is lacking of growth in investors, in my opinion, and it's a big challenge. I feel a bit alone with the topic of scaling a company from 15 million to 50 or 100 million, right? I think that's something which is in my opinion lacking. Like these really growth topics, events, also people which help you how to grow. And that's why I believe in a strong board, having a strong advisory board, but also having clear expectations.
How did you set up your board?
I have actually, I believe in phases. And I believe a board member which was 4 years ago in the board shouldn't be still there. Okay, that's quite offensive. But I think I really believe in phases, and the company has different phases, and you need the people for that, right? And I have clear expectations to my board. We have a very open communication. Like I have once a month, I have a board meeting. I meet them all 3-4 weeks. I call them quite often, and I ask them. So they're not here to, I don't know, they have to challenge me, and if I have challenges, I go to them, right? So really use the board also.
I think that's a really good tip. Oh, like who's this guy? So what are you doing? No, okay. We have a new guest on our podcast today. Well, now you brought me out of the concept. Well, we're almost coming to an end. I want to also open to questions from the audience, but before I do that, I of course want to know like what's happening. Now 3 years have gone by. What's happening in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's a question of all questions. I don't know. I'm just pushing. I'm growing. I'm improving every day, right? And not only the company, me as a founder, CEO. I think we have a great opportunity. Like we have, as mentioned last quarter, 26% growth. I think the market is coming back. Real estate is coming back. So yeah, I think the sun shines as today. And let's see how we go on. Yeah.
So you're in good spirits.
Yeah,
that's good.
Still, yeah.
I'll use that moment to do a little promotion. If you want to hear more stories like Levent's story and Properti, you should get this book, because this is the new book that we just brought out from Swisspreneur and has incredible founder stories in there. You should check it out. This one's in German, but you can also get it in English and French. You can buy it online. If you want to have a look, let me know. If you want to win one, you should come to me, because then I can put you in a raffle. And now I did my job. So are there any questions in the audience to Levent that you want to really ask him, want to know how they did it, what they did not do? Any questions? It's a safe space, people. Yes, we have one here.
Oh, no, thank you. Thanks. You mentioned that with Scale, you change the board members and you change the team. Do you change the values?
No. We stick to the values. In the beginning, we had clear 6 values. Now, since 9-10 months, we have also principles. We have also, example, a handbook, which is written down everything, vision, strategy, how we work, and we also written by myself, of course, with help of marketing and stuff. But yeah, now values are still the same, but we adapted in a certain way. How, right?
Awesome. And how do you make sure that it's lived and not just said? So how do you know it, that they get it?
Yeah, I think it's about the culture has to be lived by everyone. And it's starting with us as a management, extended management. Like when we have onboarding day, I'm always there. I read all probation period talks which they have, so to understand how this person does. I try to spend time with them. So I think it's really a shift of before, like think, okay, the culture is lived, just go it, about being active and speaking also with people, right? And I've just mentioned these different events, startup keep doing workshops and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Question in the back.
I was just, I really like your mindset on how you push forward. So I'm curious, where do you get your inspiration from?
Actually, from nowhere. No, it's funny. This question has been asked yesterday because we were thinking about should I do more video content. I was saying I hate to be on camera, and yeah, so that's actually a challenge. And then my CMO asked me, yeah, but who is your inspiration? I said, hey, I don't need inspiration. I just want to disrupt. I want to empower people, and I think this is this inner drive which is crucial. So, yeah, I could say now Elon Musk, right? But then everyone would throw some. No, it's like just disrupting an industry, working with great people together. That's my motivation. Seeing people grow, right?
Then maybe to follow up on this, like this inner drive. What do you think? Where does this come from?
Yeah, that's also a good question. I believe, did anyone read the book Das Kind in dir muss Heimat finden? If not, read it. It's a very good book. Yeah, I think it's one thing is really a bit what happened as a child, let's say. And the second point is, before founding Properti, I was working in a real estate company called Better Homes. I was there at the age of 23 managing director, and the age of 25 COO, and the career was like that. And then I had a burnout. Classic thing. Working too much, studying next to it, having a burnout. And there I started to realize that the point why I was doing that was really about working with people together, empowering them, right? And I think from today to tomorrow, I was away, and it was for me a big crisis because I had this, and I had a burnout, but it was not a burnout because of I was working too much. Perhaps I was working too much, but it's more about, hey, from today to tomorrow, you're no one, right? And this was something which I was like, I had everyday calls, emails, whatever, and then from today to tomorrow was nothing anymore. And I was saying, okay, but how can this happen, right? How can you can treat people like that in a certain way, which is absolutely business, and it's okay. And then I said, okay, hey, let's build something great, which was also my plan, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you. You said that implementing a learning and development program was one of the first things you did.
Yeah.
So how big were you when you did that? And at a small level, what did you do?
Yeah, I think it's also a bit because of our business, because we are tech-enabled with a strong platform on side, and on the other side, we have also much sales agents, right? And I think at least we were very good at building a sales engine, and when we want to do something different, I think having a clear sales engine is key, right? And we started it after 9 months, 10 months, and this was one of the first investments for us. But it's also a bit because of the company, we allow like second job starters to enter the real estate industry, and we said, hey, if they enter, we want to build up the best agents, right? At this point also, like we're very on numbers, so we are, a bit pushy perhaps, but yeah, so it's about clients, right?
Mm. Interesting. Any other question? Yeah? More? Wait, what? I'm confused. Oh, there.
Hi, Levent. I'm Mario. I don't mind if it's in the podcast. I'm Mario Feliciano. I really genuinely find your story very inspirational. I didn't know what to expect coming in here, but I really found it inspirational. So looking at your background, as a startup founder myself for 10 months, it's tough, right? And I came from a corporate or job myself. My question to you was, I noticed that you also had, you were a founder before of other companies. Do you think lessons you've learned from those, plus your experience from the private sector, or helped you be successful? And that was the first question. The second question was, what would be your advice for people like me? You know, we are starting, we're not sure, we're giving our best. Just curious to hear your thoughts.
Of course.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Nice to be here. I think one important thing is just keep pushing. It's lonely at the top. It's lonely as a founder. You need people. Like one thing which I did quite heavily, I cut everything off in my environment. I built an environment which supports me to 200%, and I had a clear focus. And I think being a founder is very hard because 90% is rain, 10% is sun. That's the business. And I think it's not about if it's raining or not, it's about having possibilities in this moment and try to improve all the time. And I think having a clear environment is very crucial, clear focus, and having people which support you. I think I founded together with my brother, and I'm very thankful for that. Even when we were brothers, we were a dream team, right? And another thing which I learned is the same, actually. Just keep pushing, believe in yourself, and don't really trust in your idea which you had in the beginning. Try to adapt permanently, and if you think it works, go with that. As example, in the beginning, our idea was really this 360 ecosystem of real estate, everything on one platform. So it's still there, but it's not really a focus anymore, right? So as example, if you buy a property at us or rent something, you can do everything: mortgage, moving, cleaning, and so on. And I think at the end of the day, you have just to adapt on one thing and focus. I hope I could answer it.
I think we have one last question over here. Or then after that will be the last question.
I think you're very culture aware, and I love everything about it. But also you're a rare species in that regard. Where did you learn everything about culture and that it's so crucial to everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just don't believe in bullshit, sorry for that. I just believe if you're just brutally honest, that will improve everything. And I think, some of the teammates, they love me for that. Some of them, they hate me for that. It's absolutely fine. It's always about the company and how to improve. And I think that's it. And it's about reading also. I read a lot. Different books. One I just read is B2.3 from Jim Collins. I really love Jim Collins, to be honest. Great books. And I think that's also about taking the time to read these books. And at the moment, I read at least 6. Friday is mostly reading day. Strategy is for me reading. Inspiration, that's coming back to your point. Books is my inspiration. So in real estate, technology, and culture, CEO topic. I think you just have to take time for that, and your job is to work on the company and not in. And that's a huge change of priorities.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now last question, actually. We're already...
Hopefully the most difficult.
No, hopefully not.
Yeah, my question is, you are like the new kid in a well-established market with well-established players, with a well-established business model.
Yeah.
What do you really make differently with your company? So what differs you from your competitors? What's the
That's
new
a
thing?
very good question,
Except from from investing lots of money in growth.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. Thank you. No, I think one thing is really about think differently, right? Real estate is a very old-fashioned industry, and in my opinion, 90% of the industry missed one thing: to invest into innovation in future, because they earn so much money. They will think, okay, it's great, right? And I think there are next to me different great companies which are growing quite fast. I think it's really about one thing is having the right people and just push also certain things and not just like being too theoretic. Just if someone has ideas, just try, fail forward, right? So having this mentality of going, pushing. And secondly is the people themselves, right? And third is really about trying to rethink certain things and invest. Like we're investing heavily in platform technology and also culture, people, events. And I think this is key, even when it's a long-term investment. And if I think back 3 years ago, we adopted the processes all the time. And like I could adapt it still. You know, it's a permanent process. So focus, flywheel, where you want to be best at, improving. I think that's something which much older companies lack. They believe because it worked the past 10 years, it will work the next 10 years. And that's bullshit.
There's no key disruption, innovation within your company. It's just doing old-fashioned business stuff better.
Yeah, that's a very good question also, or what you just said. No, I think, I don't know, it's selling real estate. Right? It's a very emotional business. And so our job is to enable the agents and try to give them the right platform that they mainly focus on what they're good at, meeting people, making visits, the rest we're doing. And I believe with AI, sorry, I'm just finishing now.
Take your time.
With AI, it will, like, the whole market will change again. And I'm very excited about that, very excited. And I believe now it's such a great time, such excited on that, really. So now I'm finished, sorry.
I love this excitement, and I love that this is the way we end. Thank you so much. This was super interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being on the podcast and for being here at Startup Days. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day and buy the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here.